How are you guys doing? Today is Thursday, February 25th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to do an individual profile on Gianluigi Donnarumma, who is the now 22-year-old starting goalie for AC Milan. And if you haven't heard of him, I think this is definitely going to be a name you're going to be hearing a lot if you're someone that follows soccer. And if you're unfamiliar with him, he stands at about 6'5", and the fact that he's so young is more or less the reason that I have him on here, because he's starting for AC Milan, which is the second best team in all of Italy, and he already has 200 career appearances with Milan, at least in domestic play. And the fact that he's been able to amass 200 appearances for one of the best teams in Italy, and he's only turning 22 today, should speak to his consistency and what he's been able to do, the elite level he's been able to play at now. And the fact that he's years away from his prime should be a dangerous thought for the rest of the Serie A if he chooses to stay in the Serie A. So, once again, if you're unfamiliar with him, he's, like I said, a young goalie out of Italy. He played most of his youth career with Club Napoli, and then he moved to AC Milan. And then at AC Milan, he would eventually get called up for an international cup. And when he was 16, he would make his first start for AC Milan. He would be the second youngest player to make to start a match in the history of Italian football, ever. The youngest to do it did it 70 years earlier, so he's the youngest Italian goalkeeper in modern football history. And by the beginning of 2016, he actually became the full-time starter, and even before he became a full-time starter, he helped AC Milan win the Italian Super Cup. So of course he was responsible for that, and just in the seasons he's been able to just produce have just been amazing. So starting off in 2015-16, in his age 16 season with AC Milan, he would play 30 matches in a season where they would finish 7th in the table, and they would go on and finish as runners-up in the Italian Coppa. But within his age 16 season, Donnarumma would finish with 30 starts on the season. He would allow 29 goals on the season. So, in his age 16 season, within Serie A at the very least, he allowed just one less goal than matches played. He would go on to finish with 10 clean sheets in the 30 matches that he would play, which is a very impressive ratio for the fact that the amount of game, he had just twice as many games that he allowed a goal as he did games with a goal. And the fact he was able to do that at 16 is such an amazing feat that you don't even really see that really ever. But this would carry on, of course, in the international stage. He was starting to get recognized, and by 2016, following the Europa or for the European champion qualifiers, or following the European Championship, he would eventually get called up to the senior squad for a friendly, and he would get called up once again. He got called up in 2016 when he was about 17 years old. So just to give you a little bit more context and how great he is. Players don't get called up to the national team at 17, and the fact that he was able to do it as a goalie should speak even more to it. But of course, this would transition into his second season with AC Milan, where he would start all 38 games for the squad. In a season where Milan would finish 6th in the table, but like I said, they did end up winning Supercoppa Italia that year, as they lost in the quarterfinals of the Coppa Italia. But of course, within that season, Gianluigi Donnarumma would allow 45 goals in those 38 games. As of course the pressure would heat up a bit. He would finish with 12 clean sheets, which is tied for the most that he'd ever have in a season. He's done that 3 times actually. And of course, doing it at age 17, I can't even really put into words how just incredible that is, and just what he was able to do with Milan. And he was making a couple of appearances for Italy here and there, and this would transition into his third year with Milan in 2017-18, which would be his age 18 season. He would start all 38 games for a Milan team that finished 6th in the table yet again, as they would finish runners-up in the Italian league, and they would finish in the round of 16 in Europa League. In Gianluigi Donnarumma's first appearance in Europa League, he would go on to allow only 8 goals in the 11 matches that he played. He finished with 6 clean sheets in Europa League as a teenager and still continuing to make all the starts and appearances for AC Milan. Even though they didn't win, the fact that he was still able to do that, they had an 18-year-old goalie who by then that was his 3rd full season in the league. And I mean, that even says a little more about what he's able to do, especially at that level. So this would transition into his age 19 season in 2018-2019, where he started 36 of the 38 games in a season where AC Milan would finish 5th, our highest standing that ever since he had been there, or at least at the time. And they would lose in the semifinals of the Italian Coppa. They were losing the group stage of Europa League, but of course, Gianluigi would, even in the games that he played, within the 36 games that he played, he finished with 11 clean sheets on the season, allowing 32 goals in the 36 games that he played, which is the first time that he played like a full season, his first time as a full-time starter, allowing less goals than matches that he played. And once again, doing it, he started that season he finished that season he started that season as a teenager, and that would transition into, of course, his age 20 season, where in 2019 and 20, he would start 36 games in a season where AC Milan would finish with the 6th best record in Serie A for the 3rd time since he had been there. And they would lose in the semifinal of the Italian Cup. So, I mean, he was unable to win a trophy last season. But, of course, he was still able to allowing 42 goals in the 36 games, especially when the Serie A got a lot stronger, especially with Lukaku and Cristiano Ronaldo heating up. And the fact that he was still able to keep Milan as a very, very solid team, and in the fact that he was still starting almost every game as a 20-year-old should speak more and more to his ability as a goalkeeper. And even though he didn't win a lot of trophies, a lot of his prowess and a lot of his experience would transition into his most recent season. In 2020 and 2021, he would, as of right now, he started 22 of the games that he's played in Serie A for AC Milan. And right now, they're sitting 2nd in Serie A, which is the best standing that he's ever had since he's been there, as they trailed first place Inter Milan by 4 points. In his most recent match against Inter Milan, he would allow 3 goals, 2 of which from Lautaro Martinez and one of them from Romelu Lukaku, as a part of probably the second or the best attacking duo in all of the Serie A. But of course, this season, in the 22 games that he's played, he's allowed 25 goals, and he has 8 clean sheets on the season. But AC Milan is standing at they have the best standing that they've ever had in a season, and just with everything going on, this would transition into Europa League, which is where he's currently playing right now. If you were to look at where Gianluigi Donnarumma is right now in his career. He just turned 22. As of right now, he has 200 career appearances with AC Milan in Serie A alone. Not to mention what he's been able to do in Europa League and the Italian Cups. He does have a Supercoppa trophy, but I think with what he's doing, he is most definitely entering the part of his career where he cannot look back, and he's definitely emerged as one of the elite goalkeepers in all of the world. I think it's a matter of time before he puts it all together, but I think with his experience and just like with his reactions, his ability, his poise, his control, he definitely has nothing to worry about when it comes to dealing with the Serie A. And I think it's definitely not an understatement when people are referring to him as the future of Italian goalkeeping. You've seen a career develop like this in the form of Gianluigi Buffon, who ended up becoming Juventus' all-time greatest goalie ever. And the fact that Donnarumma is kind of following in his footsteps, it's kind of no coincidence. And I have no idea whether he's going to stay with AC Milan or if he decides to take his talents elsewhere. But I'm saying as of right now, for the 2021 calendar year, I truly believe that Gianluigi Donnarumma at 22 years old can grow to be one of the best goalies that the world has ever seen. And the fact that he has 200 career appearances at 22, like he's been the starting goalie for AC Milan for the last 5 full seasons and almost 6 full seasons. He came on when he was 16. Really hasn't skipped a beat, and a lot of teenagers would crack under that pressure. There are a lot of teams, organizations that have U23 teams. This man just turned 22 and he has 200 career appearances. I don't think that's a coincidence. And I think, his career can only get better from here. But with that said, I want to thank everyone for listening to my piece. I hope all is well. My whole reason with with giving this whole profile is I think that Gianluigi Donnarumma is going to be an amazing player to watch in the future. And it's just a good idea just to, if he wasn't on your radar, this is a player that should be on your radar, especially if you're going to follow Italian soccer, which is or if you're going to follow the Serie A, which is a very tough league to at least be incredibly dominant in, especially as a goalie. Not to mention this dude I think if he's not the starting goalie for Italy, he will be eventually. He will be the eventual just starter. He's made 22 appearances for Italy as well. And not much more to say, but I hope all is well. I want to thank you guys once again for listening to all 11 minutes of my piece. And if you ever get a chance, check out my boy Gianluigi Donnarumma, who is currently wearing number 99 for AC Milan and more than likely will change it to number 1 eventually when his time comes. Thanks once again for listening to my piece. I hope all is well. And once all of the exhibitions for today are done, I will come back with an episode tomorrow. And the next day I will come up with profiles will be on February 28th, where Randy Rosarena, the elite outfielder from the Tampa Bay Rays, turns 26, and Luka Doncic, the elite starting shooting guard for the Dallas Mavericks, turns 22. Once again, thanks. Hope all is well, and peace out. I'll catch you tomorrow.